February the 6th, 2016. And I have to remind you that the views expressed on this show are not the views of this station, they're my views and those of my engineer, John Mitchell, my videography, Alan Makowski. The voice you are listening to is that of Al Duncan, and I'm bringing you the news behind the news and the story behind the story, hoping to convince you that reality is usually scoffed at and illusion is usually king. But in the battle for survival of what is good, what is right, and what is just, it will be reality, and not illusion or delusion that will determine what the future will bring. I'd like to remind you that we are a nonprofit radio station, and we exist on your gracious donations alone. So please, put your money where your mind is. Now we have a jam-packed show for you this morning and a lot of heavy information. So, and I promise I'll open the lines about 10-15 minutes prior to the end of the show. And John, please remind me when we get close to that. I'd appreciate it. Thank you. And so please hold your calls. I will announce the phone number when we open the lines for calls. Thank you again so very much. Before we move on to our exciting show, and I really do believe it's exciting. You know, it's amazing. When I first learned this information that I'm trying my best to present to you, it was overwhelming. It was stunning. When I saw that there was really a world behind the world that we visually saw, and that the entire time they were creating my reality, it was absolutely mind-blowing. So now, if you recall last week, I'm going to do a little recap on last week's show, and hopefully this is the last time I'll have to do this. But I really think it important. It's essential that I do a little blow-by-blow of exactly where we are today. So we discussed the Emergency Powers Act, National Security Presidential Directive 51, Homeland Security Presidential Directive 20. Obama has the authority. With these powers, he has the authority over all food resources and facilities, livestock plants, health resources, all forms of energy, transportation, water, other materials, services and facilities. He can distribute farmland and equipment, including construction materials, and he can even allocate these resources under both emergency and non-emergency conditions. If that weren't enough, he can place American citizens in labor camps and seize property while personally running the economy. Then I also reported on the United Nations Leaders Summit. Now this one just took place September of last year, and it was the Council ISIL, that's ISIL, and violent extremism. That was the summit where Barack Obama met with all the world leaders to implement plans for an international NATO-type police force in communities around the world, with him as the commander-in-chief. Then also I talked about the summit in where Attorney General Loretta Lynch and also our Vice President Biden announced that the Strong Cities Network. Now these are titles that you need to probably make note of and check them out for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. But the Strong Cities Network, the name of the same military police force that Obama had discussed, was currently active in a number of cities in the United States. Now, to me, that was amazing. That was surprising because I'd never heard of this Strong Cities Network. But what it does is it erases all national laws, including the U.S. Constitution, and replaces them with United Nations law. It also places an international NATO-type police force over our domestic law enforcement. So you can see by this gradually, slowly, they have taken over. And when I say they, I'm talking about an organization, I'm talking about a government that is not affiliated with the United States at all. So those two items so far. Then I also talked about the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the Majority Whip John Cornyn and Senator John Barrasso. They apparently got orders to call an emergency meeting because they did so on January the 20th, 2016 at the Capitol. And what they did was they introduced the Authorization for Military Force Resolution. That's the AUMF. And they immediately began a process for fast-tracking this resolution. And this is what it does. It gives the U.S. President a blank check with complete sole authority to engage in war anytime, anywhere, and wherever, for whatever reason he desires. The AUMF gives him international military law powers. He can go into any city, anytime, and do whatever he wants, and with the force of NATO troops. Now, according to Senator Christopher Murphy, and I did play a little bit of his tape last time, his testimony on the House floor, he strongly emphasized the extreme danger of giving the president sole power without Congress, no say-so. He literally has the power to push the button himself without talking to anybody for whatever reason he wants. Now, I'm going to play that clip from Senator Murphy and let you hear for yourself. This is a senator on the House floor, and he's talking about that resolution. And here he goes.
This resolution is a total rewrite of the War Powers Clause of the United States Constitution. Let's be clear about that. It is essentially a declaration of international martial law, a sweeping transfer of military power to the president that will allow him or her to send U.S. troops almost anywhere in the world for almost any reason with absolutely no limitations. Now, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the Constitution, it vests in Congress the responsibility to declare war. Now, many of us on both sides of the aisle have been arguing for over a year that the president right now has exceeded his constitutional authority in continuing military operations against ISIS without specific authorization from Congress.
This resolution hands over to one person the power to declare war and send our sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers to war. Now here's the last, so far in this, and I say the last because I don't know what's coming down the pike. My sources are pretty good, and I try to get them so I can share them with you as soon as possible. But here's the most dictatorial of all these powers given to any one person in modern history. Even Hitler played the facade with the superficial hearings. But this clip will show you, and this is Judge Napolitano as well as Congressman Ron Paul. And they're both giving us, telling us exactly what's going on. Listen to this clip.
I can remember here at Fox arguing in the hypothetical whether or not the president could order an American killed, and everybody was recoiled at even the thought of it. Now, it doesn't even make the front pages. What about the Constitution? What about life, liberty, and property? What about the very obligations imposed on the government in the document that created the government itself?
Well, that's the whole point of the document in the Bill of Rights. Our ancestors tried to protect us against this omnipotent type of power. That was the whole idea. They said, look, the greatest threat to our freedom, the freedom of the American people, is this federal government that we're calling into existence. And to protect the people from this government, we're going to have the Bill of Rights and constitutional limitations.
The Nobel Peace Prize winner has just announced and authorized that he has told the CIA that it can assassinate American citizens in direct violation of the Constitution's Due Process Clause, in violation of federal law, and in violation of treaties to which the U.S. is a party. The Due Process Clause to the Constitution states that no person, whether they're overseas or in the U.S., may be deprived of life, liberty or property by the government without due process of law, which means a jury trial.
He was never tried or charged for any crimes. Nobody knows if he ever killed anybody.
There's no trial here. There is no judicial determination. It's some bureaucrat or team of bureaucrats that says, we have determined that that guy is guilty of terrorism, therefore we have a right to kill him.
I don't know if you really heard the seriousness of this, but it makes me feel like Chris Tucker when he asked Jackie Chan in one of those Rush Hour movies, do you understand what I am saying to you? This is so dramatic. It is so, listen, and this is something that has slipped by most of the mainstream media, and this is why I call it the news behind the news. But these powers that Barack Obama now possesses under these emergency powers, along with dozens of new laws and regulations and court decisions and executive orders upon declaring a state of emergency, these powers are equal to a king, a dictator, a ruler. These powers include the potential to postpone or suspend the 2016 elections and he could remain in office indefinitely. This makes President Obama the most powerful president in all of U.S. history and the most powerful leader in the modern times, probably since King Nebuchadnezzar, who ruled the entire world in his day, and the coming Antichrist, who will rule the entire world by the power bestowed upon him by every country through the authority given to him, and I say, from the United Nations, just as Obama has been given this power and authority. And I showed you where he had a meeting, he met at the UN with all the leaders. They set this thing up. Evidently, they gave some kind of call or notification to these senators, and they started the fast track, and now everything is in place. You can see substantially everything that I just told you for yourself. Just go to Google and Google it for yourself. And let me illustrate just how arrogant and egotistical this power grab is. After the American War of Independence fought against Great Britain, many suggested that George Washington become America's first king. Washington rejected that suggestion, claiming it inappropriate and dishonest. He said, I fought for a war for the sake of the American Republic, not for personal self-enhancement. Moreover, Washington voluntarily stepped down from the power after serving 2 terms as president. And King George III chirped from his throne. He proclaimed that George Washington had the greatest character of the age. So again, with these powers, Obama will not only be king of America, but he'll be king of the world. But it's not just Obama that we need to worry about. What about a future leader who could potentially be even worse than him? So all I can say is, wake up, America. We have been conquered, and I do mean that, conquered. You can't get any more serious than they can black bag you, lock you up indefinitely with no due process of law. You cannot get any more serious than that. So will a tyrannical dictator come in, march in here tomorrow or the next day? Well, probably not. But the laws are in place, and it's a done deal. For certain, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I can't sound this trumpet loud enough. These are the most crucial times in the history of the United States of America, and probably the world. We're at a historical crossroads, and we're heading for either freedom or tyranny, one of the two. Either we're going to go into tyranny or we're going to stand for our freedom. This is, I call it an information war. In fact, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said it is an information war, and she said they're losing. Well, I don't know. It seems as if we're losing, but our future depends on what information we're getting and how we act on that information. So anyway, that's my recap on last week. And I hope I stressed the seriousness, and I hope that you receive the seriousness of where we are today and that we need to do something about it. Now, I'm going to play 3 short clips for you because this is going into, listen, I've done extensive research on this Zika virus, and just like everything else, it goes a lot deeper than what meets the eye, or better yet, what the mainstream corporate media is presenting to us. So I got 3 short clips here. The first one is Jakari Jackson, and we'll listen to. He does. This will be a good intro into exactly where this Zika virus is.
In downtown Austin yesterday. But before we do that, here's a report from a year and a half ago that Jakari Jackson did getting into Bill and Melinda Gates and their production of genetically modified mosquitoes.
Now, malaria is, of course, transmitted by mosquitoes. I brought some here just so you could experience this. We'll let those roam around the auditorium a little bit. There. There's no reason only poor people should have the experience.
That was Bill Gates laughing about how he plans to use mosquitoes to force Medicaid against malaria. With horrible side effects accompanying voluntary vaccinations, I, for one, want to be in control of the needle, whether it comes from a pharmacist or a mosquito's face. In a world where taking too much cough syrup can send you to the hospital, can't taking too many vaccinations do the same thing? That's exactly what Nazi scientists were hoping for during World War II. They wanted to use mosquitoes as bioweapons to poison their opposition, a dream that was fulfilled when they switched out the mosquitoes for ticks on Plum Island. Years ago, the U.S. government brought Nazi minds to the States under Operation Paperclip to carry out various scientific functions. On Plum Island, Eric Traub experimented with ticks as bioweapons. In the 1970s, Lyme, Connecticut had an outbreak of what is now known as Lyme disease. There have been other strange occurrences that many speculate are related to the work done on Plum Island. So go ahead, opt out of vaccinating your child. Bill Gates and
A year and a half ago. And
Well, that was a little clip from Jakari Jackson, and this gives us a pretty good basis. It touched on a lot of things. Bill Gates, most may not know, so just quickie, his entire thing is to control the population reduction at any cost and any means necessary. He's also controlling the weather. Google Bill Gates and weather manipulation, and you will see for yourself the machines that he has set up for controlling the weather. Now, this second clip, it includes Professor Francis Boyle, and he's a leading expert in international law, one of the drafters of the ratified Biological Weapons Anti-Terrorism Act of 1989. He's written legislation used in the 1972 Biological Weapons Convention, and he represented Bosnia at the World Court, chaired commissioners on genocide, a world expert on nukes, bioweapons, you name it. So enough of his bio, because I just wanted you to know he is an expert and knows exactly what he's talking about. And he's going to present his thoughts on Zika and where he thinks it's going. So please listen to this this next clip here.
Dr. Group called me last night and then this morning, and he said, no, I mean, I have it, and nobody else has this. I can't believe it, that the Zika virus didn't come from Latin America. And this is already broken in the news. But what's new is that it came from the Rockefeller Foundation. They actually own it, Zika virus, ATCC registered VR-84TM. They got it registered, patented, and trademarked. 1947 it was discovered, patented in 1952. Remember, I had the author of the U.S. and UN ratified Biological Weapons Treaty, Dr. Francis Boyle, saying he's talked to his high-level genetic engineer associates, and they concur they've taken Zika and souped it up.
it does seem to me and to others, another expert friend of mine, that what we were dealing with here is some type of biowarfare agent that has been genetically modified, GMO. So for that reason, you really can't believe anything the WHO, the Pan American Health Organization, the CDC is telling you. It also appears, as you correctly point out, that Gates was involved in this. Bill Engdahl has the book on Gates that he's basically a genocidalist. He does have people on his staff with experience having done what I call death science, life scientists who do biowarfare work. It appears that the U.S. Advanced Biowarfare Facility at Galveston was involved. It also appears that the BSL-4 facility at Colorado State that works with GMOing mosquitoes was involved, and that this British high-tech firm Oxitec was involved. What is critical here is that I believe it was the summer of 2004, there was a scholarly paper published saying that these genetically modified mosquitoes could be dangerous if they were released. And despite this knowledge, they were released both in Brazil and also in Colombia, deliberately and maliciously. Right now, I personally would not be traveling down to Latin America until we have some idea precisely what we are dealing with. And yet I note on Monday, the WHO has convened an emergency meeting where they're going to tell everyone, well, just keep business and travel as usual. I take it they got those instructions from the CDC, and we know full well the nefarious role that the CDC, the WHO, played in the Black West African Ebola pandemic. You and I have already been through that. This so-called Zika is also transmitted by sexual intercourse, which I think proves that we have a GMO'd biowarfare agent at work here. And it is also transmitted by saliva. And that indicates to me that we could be dealing with some type of GMO gain of function biowarfare agent, namely that it could jump.
So we're not sure exactly what's happening, but...
Well, that's that tape there. Listen, when you're dealing with these mosquitoes, and again, that's Bill Gates' thing. When you're dealing with these mosquitoes, hypothetically, they could bite you 5 or 6 times. They could bite you 10 times. And what I mean that is 10 different mosquitoes. And then what? How many doses of this vaccine do you have in you? As Jakara Jackson said, if too much cough syrup can hurt you, how many vaccines could hurt you? Especially if it's the same thing. I'm going to play this last clip, this one more clip. And this one is from John Bound, and he gives his explanation of it.
Armed births.
Oddly enough, though, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation funded Oxitec mosquito release experiment conducted in Brazil last year preceded the explosion of microcephaly cases in Brazil. Brazil, home to over 200 million people, and the 2016 Rio Olympic Games, is losing the battle. The Associated Press reports Brazil's health minister says the country will mobilize some 220,000 troops, but he was also quoted Tuesday as saying the battle is already being lost. Castro said that nearly 220,000 members of Brazil's armed forces would go door to door to help in mosquito eradication efforts, according to Rio de Janeiro's O Globo newspaper. Door-to-door mosquito eradication efforts, something the totalitarian gun-grabbing White House administration could swoop down and capitalize on if an outbreak occurs in the United States. Now, evidence of the Zika virus reaching the United States has been confirmed. The Los Angeles Public Health Department reported one confirmed case of the Zika virus in the United States after a teenage girl was diagnosed after traveling to El Salvador in November of 2015. The LA Health Department states, quote, "No transmission of Zika virus infection has occurred in Los Angeles County. However, Aedes mosquitoes are present in the San Gabriel Valley and in the eastern part of the county."
We're going to stop it there. We're almost time for the halftime break, so I'm going to turn it over to John. And John, good morning, and here you go.
Oh, yeah, good morning, everybody. Great to be here Saturday. And this is February 6th, 2016. And we're live here at KPFZ, downtown Lakeport, California. 149 North Main Street, and we'll be opening up the lines for your input at 707-263-3435. So thank you for tuning in. And we have a marathon coming up soon for the homeless people. I know I passed about 10 people this morning.
Homelessness Marathon, live on KPFZ.
Walking down the road.
From Washington, D.C. and Lake County. Starts Wednesday night at 6 p.m., February 17th, and goes to 6 a.m. Thursday morning, February 18th.
Sun's been shining down on my hillside bed. That's not the only reason. My face is so red, this nasty cut on my nose. It's not from no fight, I just fell down yesterday.
So yeah, you can be aware of that. That's February 17th, 6 p.m. That's going to begin. So I'd like to remind you again that the opinions you're hearing are those of the speakers, and the speakers only. Doesn't necessarily represent the views of KPFZ's members, board, listeners, etc. So with that, Al, are we going to be opening up the lines soon enough, or?
We are. I have one more clip I'd like to play so that they have sufficient information so when they ask the questions, they could be, knowledgeable on the subject. And so I'll do that right now, if that's okay, John.
Yeah, and then you want are you asking the callers to specifically stick to the information we're hearing today, or?
That would be nice. I'm opening the lines in any way they want to, whatever they want to talk about. It's fine with me, but I'd like for them to kind of stick with this subject.
That sounds great. Okay, thank you.
And here's the last clip.
Thank God they love us.
Also, you have to look at what's going on in Brazil. Why are all these mosquitoes being released in Brazil? Well, you have the Olympics in Brazil, Summer Olympics in 2016. You're going to have representatives and people, contestants, athletes, fans from every country in the world in one central location. And that's where they're releasing this virus. So it's a perfect vector to spread this disease all over. Now they say,
well, he makes an excellent point, and here's a little tidbit. They had mentioned something about this earlier, but the Zika virus, ATCC-VR-84, it's registered, it's patented, and the trademark is by Rockefeller Foundation. Discovered in 1947. And the patent was issued in 1952, and now it is deployed. Now, Dr. Group goes on to mention in an article from the world's first Zika virus vaccine that's made in India. And the scientists claim that they finally discovered or they finally come up with a vaccine. And guess who or what organization is funding it? If you guess Bill and Linda Gates Foundation, you're absolutely correct. And you know, this is the typical problem, reaction, solution. The government creates the problem, the public reacts to the problem, and then they step in with the solution, which is always a loss of more freedoms and a huge bill to the taxpayers. So here we are. We're going to open the lines to the listeners, and it's your turn.
Okay, Al. Yeah, we're getting a caller here. Maybe I can get this caller going on here. Hold on a second.
Thank you, John. And
okay, caller. Good morning. Are you there? Caller,
good morning. Well, the caller's a little bashful, or John didn't. Did he hang up on us, John? Well, that's okay.
Hey, wait a minute. We're getting another caller here. See if we can do it.
Okay. While John is putting that together, I'm going to give you a little information. You know, in 1953, and it seemed like everything that's going on really was initiated in the 50s. That's when it started. I'm going to mention this too, that we are probably 50 years behind on any inventions, discoveries, technologies that is going on. And I say 50 years behind because there are so many things going on. For instance, transhumans, cyborgs. Is the caller there, John?
Caller, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good morning.
Good morning. Whom am I speaking with?
My name is Adrian.
Good morning, Adrian. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good, good, good.
I think you may be misinterpreting a few things.
I misinterpreted? Okay, let's hear them.
I believe that you might be misinterpreting a few things, yes.
Thank you for your call.
I'm all ears, Adrian.
Well,
go ahead.
Okay, yeah. Number one, the virus can't be patented. And believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I deal with the patent office all the time, and I have a patent, and I have some pending.
Well, would you look this one up? Because I did.
Well, what has been patented is the antigen for it.
Go ahead, Adrian. I'm listening.
In the abstract?
Uh-huh.
Did you read the abstract?
Did I? Yes, I did.
And did you see the word antigen?
I did.
That's what's patented. In other words, that's the defense against it.
Well, you know, now this I do know too, Adrian. With every virus that is created, and I do mean created, engineered in the laboratory, they have to also do a cure. The same thing with HIV, with AIDS.
Well, this thing occurred naturally. It wasn't invented in a lab.
Well, not according to the information. Now you have some information, Adrian, and I have some information, and I just let you hear from one of the top virologists in the world. And I understand that you're pretty smart, Adrian, but in any event, I just let you hear that one of the top, and he told you exactly where it came from, how, when, what, and where. And not only him, but also Dr. Group. And so, you know, here's what I like to do. I like to give the public the opportunity to decide for themselves. All I'm going to do is give you the information. And then what you do with the information is up to you. But let them research for themselves.
Well, of course, but that's not what I'm saying. It's just from the account that you've read, I detect that what you're talking about, that you're confused about what you're talking about. That's all.
And that's why I didn't read too much. I pretty much let them do it. But I do understand what you're saying. And I'm not an expert on viruses, but
because that Rockefeller outfit is a famous, a bunch of scientists that work on diseases and one thing and another. They're the last people that would that would be involved in making some sort of war thing.
Oh, no, 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 no. I totally disagree. As a matter of fact, it was John D. Rockefeller, and like I said, don't take my word for it. You can look this up for yourself. It was John D. Rockefeller, who is David's dad. He was the initiator of all this, and he back in 1942, he was the one who started the first pharmaceutical actually company, and went to all of the universities, went to all of the hospitals, subsidized them, and he is the one that turned the training or the medical profession from not solving problems with medical health, but giving a long-term maintenance through drugs. He's the one who started this whole thing. Right now today, if you go to your physician, the first thing he will offer you is a pill. The ongoing education for the average doctor.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Slow down here. You can't blame the Rockefellers for that. All they've done relative to that organization is give them money, period.
No, that's totally incorrect. They also implemented the procedures, the direction that they intend to go. Right now today, we have a revolving door into the CDC, the FDA. They go into the pharmaceutical company. The first thing that happens when the head of the CDC or the FDA leaves is they have a cushion CEO job paying big bucks in a drug corporation. Rumsfeld was the first one to do that. Do you know that aspartame was totally illegal? FDA would not pass it.
Yeah, that's a dangerous drug.
Very dangerous. Listen, and they would not pass it until Rumsfeld came back into politics when in the Bush administration and had it passed. That is it is a neurotoxin drug, and it's in our drinks. They've almost put it in everything. And why? Now, the FDA is our watchdog. We pay them to protect us.
Listen, what you're talking about relative to aspartame is probably a question of concentration and how much you've got. The dose is the thing. In those molecules, the dose is really critical.
You're right there too.
Tiny amounts of aspartame are used as the sweetener.
Well, it's still a neurotoxin that goes straight to the brain. Listen, Adrian, thank you so much. I appreciate your call. We have another person waiting.
Yeah.
And thank you again. Bye-bye.
Okay, so we have another caller been holding. Caller, let me see here.
Still here.
Oh, okay, thank you for standing by.
Good morning. What's your name?
My name's Scott.
Good morning, Scott. You had a question or a comment?
I do. I heard Adrian's comments, and Adrian doesn't believe in global warming and quite a few other things that the rest of us do, so I don't get too upset by what he says. I believe you. Adrian really he's extremely invested in
Scott, I'm going to stop you for one reason. Listen, let's you and I talk. I don't want to talk about Adrian.
He's a great guy, and
Okay.
I don't mean to diss him, but he's extremely invested in the things that he's invested in and can't possibly change without looking like a fool.
Okay,
so
so
I feel really sorry for him.
I do.
But
Okay.
I really agree with you that this virus thing is pretty scary. Did you say that this was actually developed by the Rockefellers?
Yes,
By
they have a
Rockefeller?
patent for it, and it was in 1947 1952 that the patent was given. So yes, this goes back to them, but this is not their first one. They have many.
Sure.
In fact,
My question is, do you happen to know what they originally thought that this might be useful for?
I think exactly what they're doing with it. I think it's a biological weapon. That's what it is. There's no question about it. And it's not just that. I started mentioning with.
And let me finish. Your position is that this is being done for population reduction?
Without a doubt.
Okay. All right. That's all I wanted to know. I don't disagree with you. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Scott.
Bye-bye.
You know, I'd started mentioning, and the lines are open, so if anyone else would like to call in, we got about 10 more minutes. So, okay. While he's getting that call, I'd like to mention the phone number, 263-34-35, and that's naturally 707. 263-34-35. It sounds like we lost that one.
Yeah, you got the other line open.
Oh.
Look, all I want is the patent number. What's the patent number?
Okay, hold on one second. This is
Just
the one
hit that switch.
Pardon?
You've got two lines. You've got one that you should shut. But give me the patent number.
ATCC VR84 and trademark. You know, I do have a clip too with the actual patent.
That's not a patent number.
What, Adrian? Listen, all I know is it is patented. And hold on, let me see. Good question though, Adrian, and I appreciate that. I do have a clip showing everything, even the actual patent on the screen.
Okay, there's a number right at the top in the upper left-hand corner that is the official patent number.
And you know what I'm going to ask you to do, Adrian? Would you call me after the show?
Sure.
Yeah, okay, that I appreciate.
Okay, what's your number?
And well, I'll do it better. Email me, alduncan@pacific.net. Now I'm in the process. I do have a website for the show, newswithviews.net. But it is up, but it is in construction. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to put this show because we are also videotaping it, and put this show on the website where you can click a link and watch the whole show and listen. So, but that is my email address, and email me, Adrian, and I'd be glad to send you all the information that I have on it.
Yeah, all I need is the number.
Okay, that'll be fine. So
yeah.
just
all right. Yeah, no, I'll send you an email.
Thank you so much, Adrian.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We have another caller, I believe.
Hello?
Yes.
Listen, I want to talk to the host of the show.
Okay, good morning. What's your name?
Jeff?
Jeff, Al Duncan here. Go ahead.
Al Denton. Okay. Well, last week you were railing against the vehicle code and saying things like there should be no law unless an offense offends or hurts another human being. So you were railing against seatbelt laws and California rolling boulevard stops and running red lights and speeding on the freeway. So I basically take it that you think the entire California vehicle code is a bunch of trash.
Well, no, that's not really correct. Here's what I do believe. Initially, we were under what is called common law, and common law is simply if you do not harm anyone or their person, then you, as an adult human being, should live your life the same way that you expect somebody else to treat you. And that's all.
Common law harkens back to Henry II of England, and it's over 250 years old, and it has no place and no basis in a modern industrialized America. And now I understand you're suggesting that Obama might be the next Antichrist. You know, the last time I heard that, all the born-again Christians were running around suggesting that Henry Kissinger was the next Antichrist because he had assumed so much of Nixon's power. And so how does a right-wing whack job like you get a radio show on KPFZ?
Well, if you're just going to insult me, I mean, all you can do is call me names. I'd like to deal with the issues. We were talking about common law, and you were saying, you had accused me of saying I don't believe that there should be any traffic laws. That is not what I was saying. What I was saying was just last year alone, they had passed 81,000 new, Google it, 81,000 laws, 2015. What I'm saying is everything we do, we break at least 5 laws every single day, and we don't even know it. That's what I was saying. That was
And
the
you
point.
said you don't believe in any of them.
That's not what I said.
You did. You said there should be nothing that makes you buckle your seatbelt. There should be nothing against the California Rolling Boulevard stop. There should be nothing against speeding on the freeway. There should be nothing against running a red light. What kind of chaos do you think we would have in this society if we didn't
think we
have
did
a
pretty
vehicle
good.
code?
I think we did pretty good without all those vehicle codes before. I really do. I think listen, you as an adult human being, can you go out of your house? Can you live your life without hurting anybody else? That's freedom. Anything else is imprisonment. And that's exactly what you're saying. I don't need a law to tell me to fasten a seatbelt. I don't need a law to tell me that I can or cannot smoke or drink or whatever it is. And speaking of laws, let's how about this one? I don't think that they should have a law against using drugs. I don't use them. I don't use them. Don't like them. Don't want them. But
I
why?
agree with you, and
Okay.
I do use them, and I do like them, and
Okay.
I absolutely agree with you.
Well, we agree.
Things
Listen,
that I
that's
do
a
to myself shouldn't be any of the state's business. But when you DUI, when you drive drunk, you affect the safety of every other motorist on that roadway. So what in hell is wrong with the California DMV's anti-DUI laws?
Listen, it's not even when you drive drunk. It's if you do something to someone while you're drunk. Now, I don't believe in driving drunk. Of course not. That's not responsible. That's not being a responsible human being. But here's a law that's telling me I haven't done anything to anybody. I haven't harmed anybody. I haven't hurt anybody. But yet there's a law that can put me in prison, and I've done nothing to no one or myself. That's all I'm saying.
The potential is there. The potential for you to do life-threatening damage is there. If you're allowed to go out and drive drunk as a skunk, the potential exists for you to wipe out a whole family.
Well,
are you saying that unless you
I don't think
actually
this guy
wipe out
hears
that
you,
family,
Al.
there shouldn't be a law against it?
John is saying, listen, this is what I'm saying. I'm gonna end it with this one, because we're going back and forth. I'm glad we did agree on one thing though. But here's what I'm gonna say. Listen, there is a law right now to carry a firearm, and I think it's a good law. I would rather see those who have been vetted with a firearm than those that haven't. And if you take the guns from those that have been vetted, then the only one's going to have them are the crooks. But now listen, here's an individual with a firearm, and he's walking around every day. The firearm could kill somebody, but it's the person that does it, and if he never uses it to do any harm, there is no harm done. My whole point with that is you have the power to do whatever, but it is you as a human being with hopefully right motives and desires that stop it, that don't do it. So, we can argue back and forth of I don't think, why should I have someone else over me telling me when I can breathe and when I can't, when I can turn to the right or turn to the left? No, that's not freedom, that's imprisonment, and that's really all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, that's great, Al. We have another call. I think if this caller's still standing by, I think that the common law situation refers to if you go through a stop sign, a four-way stop sign, and you just drive straight through, and there's nobody at the other three stop signs, then you are doing no harm. There's no possibility that you're going to hurt anyone, and a law like that, under the common law, you would be totally innocent because you're not able to cause any injury because there's nobody there at the other three stop signs.
You've done no harm to anyone.
Done
You're
no
right,
harm.
John. And you haven't even anyway.
And at common law, if you did go through that stop sign and you did kill somebody, you are definitely responsible
You're
for
liable.
your action.
You're absolutely correct, John, and I agree 100%.
Yeah.
You did say there was a caller waiting?
Yeah, caller, are you hanging in there?
I am.
Oh, thank you.
Good morning. What's your name, sir?
I'm Scott again, and I wanted to say right on, thank you for saying sanity. That last caller, I'm sure, is a well-meaning individual like most people that want to put laws on everything. But the truth is, for that person, if someone is driving along and drives right through a stoplight and right in front of your house and doesn't hurt anybody, why on earth is that? You know, you like to take drugs. Do you know if you mix your pills in a bag, you're in trouble? That's a federal offense, and you can go to prison for that.
There, you've committed you're absolutely correct. That is my whole point, Scott. I mean, we are human beings, and we're so used to living under the thumb of the government to tell us what to do, what we can't do, where we can go, when we can't go. It is unbelievable. And when you try to explain to a person that you are in bondage, they don't even. That's why Aldous Huxley, and I read this last week, he said that they will love their servitude. They will listen. That's why I also read where Malcolm X said, because of the media, you will hate the oppressed and love the oppressor. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking about being free, and then it brings up another point: security and freedom. You can't trade freedom for security. The only way you're going to be secure from no harm is locked in a cell by yourself. That's the only way. We're living in a world where there's other people, and we have to learn to get along with them, but we don't need a big daddy government telling us when, what, how, and where. And like I said, 81,000 new laws. My goodness. Come on,
and they don't help us at all.
No, they don't.
Not one single person is going to be helped by this.
All it does.
And that's what really bothers me.
You're right, Scott. All it does is control us, and that's what they want to do. That's why they have the surveillance. That's why they.
Thank you for speaking the truth, Al.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. I really appreciate that. And that is, listen, that is my only purpose for this show, to share information that most people are not aware of, and those that are, well, we're comrades in this. We are in a war, and it is an information war. There's no question about it. And I'm not here to lord anything over anybody, but I am here to give information, and hopefully we can get some like minds and put a stop to this. So we're getting close to our time. I'm going to say.
Take another call. Or?
We're close to our time, John. We're almost.
We got about 8 minutes here. 7 minutes.
Well, we have about 3 minutes. Listen, I'm sorry, audience, for going back and forth on this, but I want to get out of here on time for the next person. And so, therefore, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this real quick. John, you did say you had another caller?
Yeah, it looks like we have another caller. Well, let's see. Maybe we can take one short caller here. Good morning, caller. You have maybe a minute or so if you'd like to make a point. Question?
Yeah, my point is that first of all, this is Skippy Joe. I'm just calling, and thanks so much for, like Scott said a minute ago, for bringing out these points, that these governments are doing to humanity. But my point is that, if we quit letting the government especially divide us, between black and white, and always look at it, we're all Americans, some of this stuff wouldn't be going on if we were not letting these people divide us like that. So anyway, thank you for your show, and I think you're doing a great job, and you guys all have a blessed day.
Well, I appreciate it, and that's what keeps me going. Thank you so much.
All right.
So listen, I hope everyone enjoyed the show, and this is what I'd like to do. I'd like to, next week, I may have a guest, and I may not, but if so, I'll let you know. And listen, God bless you. God bless you all, and I'll see you next week.